It's different. Same cover.
Okay.
Mayor's gonna be one.
And the ninth.
He's out of town at a conference for the last since Saturday. If you call the last couple of days, but either way,
I was just curious because I thought it might be something.
play games.
Yeah.
Never know.
Thank you.
How are you, Eric? You doing all right? Yep. So I asked if somebody stands up and gets aggressive, if y'all would just tell them the first time to sit down. If they don't, look at me. I will ask them. Third time it's outside. So because there was a young lady that said she felt scared last time when that guy stood up and he was pointing his finger last time. So yes, really. So, but we do have a code section that covers disruption of government. It's there. We'll use it. Yep. Y'all let me know. You want me to come to the podium? You just choose. Just tell me to come up.
We go ahead and call the work. Well, not sure what that was. We're going to call the work session to order. Just as a reminder, the work session is a meeting in which the council discusses the business of the city. We can ask questions of individuals. We can engage our council. We can engage our city manager or ask others. It's not a time for public discussion. There will be time for public discussion. That is in our actual council meeting on the agenda where we get to public comments. There will be a sign-up sheet in the back managed by our city manager. If you'd like to speak when we get to that meeting, you do need to sign up in advance so that we can call your name when we ask you to come to the podium. At that time, you would then say your name and address and your issue, and you have 3 minutes to express your concerns. So we're going to go ahead and move into the work session. We do not have any public hearings. Our first item is the Chitwood preliminary plat for 79 homes. It is pods D and F. And as a reminder, Chitwood Homes was approved for development years ago in the city council. There's in excess of 500 housing units there. That was not approved within the last few months. That was approved some years ago. What they're asking for at this time is to move forward with development on 79 homes. Those 79 homes are located in pods D and F. Our city engineer was asked last fall to take a look at that to make sure we had the water and sewer capacity for those. He has completed that. It provided correspondence that indicated that the 79 homes are fine to move into our system. They do not create an overage or a strain on the system. And that's kind of the background behind what's happening today. So, council, questions, discussion, observation?
So much of this was discussed before I was brought back on the council in regards to this particular 79 homes. Is there already in place the connectivity to these properties as far as sewer lines and water lines?
Yes, there are. The engineer reported out that we have connections. Connections are sufficient for the 79 homes. What is not in place would be to go beyond the 79 homes into the remaining approximately 400 homes. There would be necessary requirements to the system at that point to increase the capacity for the pump that would then carry the wastewater away from the property.
I can't hardly make out the map here. So is the developer going to build the transmission lines from these parts over to the sewer system?
We're not building any internal sewer lines at all on these properties or water lines.
And this map doesn't do much justice whenever it's done. It is that fine.
I can appreciate that. Fortunately, I was able to open mine up on my home computer. It does expand on there. So
Yeah, I attempted that.
good. All right.
I don't have the benefit of a super fast brand new computer. So.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Any question?
Yes.
And I think this was approved originally in 2020, and at that time, the developer had said that they would help to build, or they would build fire station and police, because our fire has to be within a certain number of miles from this. And I do not see anything on here regarding fire station.
Yeah, they have offered to provide land. There's been no offer of actually building a station or the actual police station. What they have said, and what our engineers looked at is that the properties being built today, the 79 homes, are within the catchment distance we need
Yes.
to be able to service them through the fire department. If they were to move further into their development to the south, they get out of the distance, and so they're not able to be serviced by us, and their fire ratings would be lower. And so if they wanted to have service from us, they have to cooperate with us in a fire facility in some manner.
Like a substation.
Substation.
Correct.
So these right now are not affecting the rate.
Correct.
And our trucks can get down the road and back. with
Our trucks can get there as best as they can with the arc cuts that have been designed by DOT. It's quite a challenge. I did have a conversation with DOT the other day, and we got contact people that we can talk to about how to for our trucks. Because what happens is our trucks have a really hard time making that turn out on the highway, and they were not consulted, as the fire department was not consulted about that.
That's correct.
So just to be clear, this development, also, in addition to the 500 plus pieces of residential, includes a large portion of commercial, does it not?
It does have commercial as a later phase, that's correct, that owns the highway frontage.
Right. Approved by the council in 2020, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Interesting.
The access here on Thompson Road, is that the paved section of Thompson Road?
I would not have that information.
Okay. The Wilburn, I know that is paved, and they'll manage whatever kind of decelerations, et cetera, that's necessary there. I'm just curious if it's hard to make out again with this document without cutting onto Thompson Road.
I wouldn't have that information. Well, this isn't the entire lot, is it? Is it?
Fairly dense, if you look in the center, that's where you get the townhomes that were approved.
And those are, it's apartments, townhomes, condos, and single family, correct? So they're gonna make that some retail commercial. And rezoning commercial. It's a very large development. Yeah.
And this is Thompson Road and 365?
Yep. Any more questions?
At one point, they were gonna, restore wells, is that part of this phase, or is that?
The wells haven't come up, the issue is that it's been addressed has been the water, wastewater, excuse me. And the wastewater has been the issue where our engineers have notified them that you're gonna have to help with the station, pumping station. And so I know the engineers met with Chilwood 2 weeks ago, give or take, and told them that. So they know that. It's also been conveyed to us through EMI letter that says you need to work with them on the negotiation for that. So city was notified of it about 2 weeks ago, by EMI, maybe 4 weeks ago. And that letter was back. More questions about this? Do we have any concerns? Are we comfortable that we'll be able to move forward when we get to the council meeting? Or are there more questions that we need to have addressed?
Mayor, do you mind expressing why in this particular development, why they're addressing us? Where many times when we annex and zone new property, those decisions are made in that zoning portion of that annexation. Do you mind explaining why this is coming to right now as opposed to why this wasn't managed in 2020 when it was passed by the council then?
That would be great to have that full knowledge. I only know this, is that they had requested approval of a plat. They had a certain period of time to do that development. That was then delayed. The council extended that time. And so then the previous city manager said to them, if you would like to proceed, you're gonna have to submit your plat for approval. The plat was submitted for approval last fall. The city council at that time asked if the engineer would go back and just to verify we had capacity to deal with the water and sewer on the property. The engineer did do that for us, submitted a letter back to EMI, and so we're now at a point where we need to move forward. It would be for pods D and F, which comprise the 79 homes. And my recommendation to the council would be we only approve the 79 homes until the negotiation is completed with how do we give a break to the rest of the property.
Our expectation would be that they would also come back to us when they're ready to do pod A, pod C, and pod B, with yet again an opportunity for council at that time to negotiate or to encourage change. Is that correct?
I don't what was previously approved versus where we are today and how much ability the council has to impact the development this time.
It is my understanding, like you just described, essentially, that in this multi-phased development that's set forth in these various pods with various plans, I believe in 2020 the council approved the overall concept, essentially. Understanding that as it was built out, each pod would have to come back for it.
Yeah, that's the point I make is that it's pretty interesting how this particular one was, negotiated at that time. I had the benefit of being on council at the time, or I was mayor at the time. I can't tell you which one that is, because 2020 seems like yesterday, and I thought it was 20 years ago. So, but it was part of this. This particular one was so unique to the city that council thought it was wise to step through those processes. Traditionally, a development like this would have been annexed and zoned and done early on. So I just want to mention that we do have the benefit of having multiple looks at this project as we move forward, where some projects we wouldn't have that benefit. And I appreciate you expressing that, and I appreciate our counselor for confirming that.
We have issues sometimes with wastewater, and with when there's a lot of rain, there can be overflows. And this would simply add to the overflow, 79 homes. They would be on our sewer, not on septic, correct?
Correct.
So that's a concern that I
Yes.
express.
The engineer indicated that their flow requirements are pretty minimal. And if there was a large rain event, that would kick us over the top one way or the other. This is 20,000 gallons, which is out of our capacity. 800,000 gallons is a very small number. But it does, anytime you build homes, doesn't require additional police, fire services, additional administrative services. And so it is in addition to the number of folks who live in the city of Baldwin. More questions? Will we be comfortable moving this forward when we get to the council meeting, or are we still deliberation? Yep. Our home rule charter amendment. Mr. Sam, will you help us with this and explain what it is and why it is, and how it can help us in the future?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's all this evening. This next item is the Home Rule Charter Amendment to clarify the meeting dates and times that are prescribed in our city charter. As we said last time, there are certain types of amendments to our city charter that can be done by ordinance under the home rule statute that allows us to amend the charter insofar as it does not change the form of government. And so in order to clarify the meeting dates that were set forth in the charter originally and amended from time to time over the last several years, and to bring it back to the typical schedule that Baldwin has observed of having 2 meeting dates per month would be established under this home rule amendment. It provides for work sessions to be called at the call of the mayor or 2 members of council. My understanding is that the intention, and I believe in your packet, you see the revised schedule for meetings for the rest of this year, that there will be, like tonight, a work session at the beginning of the meeting immediately followed by the regular business meeting. And those would happen 2 times each month. The schedule again is in your packet. Upon approval, if it is up for second reading approval tonight, so upon approval tonight, we would submit it would be effective, and we would submit it to the Secretary of State's office to advise the state that the charter has been amended in that way.
So we've had some discussion about whether or not it's necessary to have 2 meetings a month and what the meetings would consist of, whether they're work sessions or council meetings. What I've heard from the public is folks want us to look at things carefully and they want us to consider them. And to consider them, in order to do that as a body, we actually have to have a meeting. We can't be in a room together having a conversation about this because that's against the sunshine laws. And so in order to conduct business of the city, we must have communication in an open setting like this. It's very challenging to try to take on all the different activities of the city without having conversations. And so to learn the various opinions of the members of the council, we have to debate, we have to talk about it. We don't always have to agree, but the only way we can do that is to have a meeting. And I would say this about that, just so that the public understands, in order to have a meeting, that is how the city council gets paid. They each get paid $100 for a meeting. So if there are 2 meetings in a month, they get paid $200. If there are 4 meetings a month, they get paid $400. I get paid $150 a meeting, and so that multiplies out to as much as $600 a month. So that's the pay that your public officials receive. We do not receive any other pay for or compensation for our work. If you have other meetings outside of this, if you go to other events outside of this, we do not get paid hourly wages for those. So that's how your city council gets paid, that's how the mayor gets paid. So thoughts on these meetings and whether or not they're necessary, comfortable with the schedule. This reflects having 2 meetings a month for the work session and the city council.
The only thought I have, I would like to break this into 2 different actions. One being the charter amendment, which is what we had our first reading on, and the second being to consider and discuss a calendar, which according to the amendment we're going to make, says that we may set a schedule for the meetings in its discretion, referring to the city council.
Correct.
So this calendar per se is your proposed discretion on the acts that as we move into our regular meeting and we consider these 2 items, that we do that, consider them as 2 separate items.
So what are your thoughts about the charter amendment? The charter amendment provides for the ability to set the meetings and notice them in advance without being constrained to a particular schedule for a year. What is the minimum number of meetings in the amendment charter?
1 per month.
In the amended,
Yes. Yes.
there are 2 in the amendment that we're adopting, or that you're considering tonight.
Could you please explain where the second one comes in? I'm looking at section 2 and 6A, and it reads, the city council, comma, by resolution, comma, may set a schedule for its meetings in its discretion, period. There shall be at least 1 regular business meeting per calendar month. I don't know that I saw anywhere else where there was the invitation or requirement for a second, but I'd love to know what that is, because maybe I misread this. It doesn't mean we can't have 33 of them. Just means we have a minimum of 1.
I apologize. That is correct.
Okay.
You have just read that correct.
Okay. I don't
It requires
really.
a minimum of 1.
Yeah.
I believe the proposed calendar includes 2 dates.
Okay, I just want to verify that the actual charter amendment, which I am very satisfied with the way it reads, but if we wanted to change that, we need to change it before we read it a second time.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. I understood we wanted them.
Okay, thank you.
We'll have one. Any questions on the charter itself? The charter amendment?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does allow us the ability to have open debates, right? Not just, you know, open debates, but also open debates.
So the amendment makes it clear, once we do that, we can then advertise instead of having to do a charter amendment every time that the council changes its mind on the number of meetings to have. So just you have to have one, you can have as many as you want, just go with it. So let's talk about the calendar itself. A work session and a council meeting each time. Are folks in support of that? Not in support of that, what would be your recommendation on how we handle the business, especially with complicated issues like we're going to do today?
I don't think there's any question. The reason I'm on this council is to right-size our budget. And for me to approve doubling our pay does not move toward my agenda. So I cannot support 4 paid meetings in a month.
I would ask you please to observe, allow us to have our conversation.
I think one ideal is for us to have the 2 meetings, which is what the prior council approved, and which is what moved us toward this new charter amendment. And in those 2 meetings, we just have 1 meeting each. So you have for example, the February 3rd meeting, whether we call it a council meeting and we discuss work session related items during the council meeting in both of those is okay with me because we take action. At least then we're not doubling our pay from the proposed. It does mean we have a informal council meeting, so we still have opportunity to debate, discuss, entertain, and hear from professionals and take action in the same meeting. Ideally, we would be smart enough that we'd be managing next meeting's work session proportions of our meeting that this one you'd be managing the prior work session. And that we just wouldn't be able to move along at the super breakneck speed, which I think is fine. Government was made to go slow for a reason.
So, Lovell, are there any particular requirements about a work session versus a council meeting and what business can be done in them?
So, yes, in your charter, there is a provision that says that no votes can be taken at the work session. I don't believe that that is the type of work session that you were contemplating in this schedule. But the effect of the presence of a quorum of the city council is that you can vote and take action on behalf of the city when you are meeting as a quorum in a properly advertised notice meeting. And so you are not required by your charter to hold a work session, but it is certainly an appropriate tool to use to have a forum for discussion where there is no voting item on the agenda, where it ends up being a more relaxed atmosphere, I would guess. I think the purpose of that is to encourage the conversation and debate that you're talking about at a work session where you're working through the issues and have not decided on how you're going to vote yet, as opposed to the regular business meeting where the items that are before you on the agenda are for your consideration and it's appropriate to either adopt it or not.
So could we do could we do, as Councilman has suggested, that we have items that we have discussion on and then move into items that we're ready to vote on in the same meeting?
Certainly. You can have a section of the meeting that is not that are items to be determined at a future meeting where no action is contemplated to be taken, and then move into a action item section of the agenda.
So we could have almost like a planning session prior to meetings or in the
Well,
agenda. It'd be with the meeting, but in the agenda, it'd be a planning session, and then that ultimately is what you're discussing for, consent for the day or planning for the next week. Correct?
So it'd be one meeting that we would be basically doing the work item agenda at the top, and then the rest of the business that we're actually going to vote on. So the agenda might say something like discussion of this, and the other would be action item of this.
Correct.
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable, I know that means we're gonna work longer days, but, I think it's more appropriate for our financial position. Right, I do think having them 2 nights a month, which is what the prior council has passed, is appropriate. Doing a work session meeting same night only is inappropriate. But if mayor believes that it's important that we have 2 nights of actionability, then we call them both council meetings. We don't call either of them work session.
I agree with that. I think we need to have the actionability, we need to be able to take action at the meetings, right? Because we saw this previous council where they had all special meetings just to get 1 or 2 things done, right? Where we would wait past the work session and take action on it. Yeah, it was on once a month. So I mean, and we saw how that, so we were saving money, but we were still spending it in special meetings because the special meeting gets still get paid, right? So.
Well, they had the work session and the council, so actually they're getting the same pay, just doing it in one night.
Yeah,
Right.
but they were calling special meetings just to handle certain things that couldn't wait to be acted on. So I definitely think, for the efficiency of the city and the efficiency of people that want to have business with the city, we need to be able to take action for those months. For sure.
So is there a consensus that we would basically drop the work session and move into a single meeting and have a single meeting, it's a council meeting each month, twice, with discussions in the beginning and action items at the end?
I would be support for that one.
I think so. And I just sort of think we need to work through how that would go on.
As long as it's divided up for me, because we had one meeting a month and it was work session, council meeting, and that was it for the whole month. There was too much information, there was too much to digest, and then there was no time to consider it. So it was like immediately we had to take action, and that was not a good time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think part of the secret to that is making sure that the information is provided to us before the action has to be taken. So if there's a contract that is to be approved, we've seen it in the previous meeting, and we can see it there. Or if we've got our packet out early enough, our packet got out, we can hit some and we can digest it and have questions. The key is getting the packet out as fast as possible, and in addition, us planning that if the contract needs approval on April 1, we're talking about it February. We're not talking about March 20th.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think our goal would be that the planning sessions for the next occurrence. Right? That was our goal for the work session meeting. So I think that does not change this.
Okay. So then, if we're looking at this, the draft calendar would still be 2 meetings a month, but it's called a council meeting, and at that council meeting, we were going to be conducting whatever discussions we needed to about action items that may or may not be on that particular agenda.
Yeah, and I'm fine with the dates that are being presented on this list. If we just strike, everywhere it says work session, yes, strike that. And you just keep the council meeting in that location. And then we work on the logistics for how that works.
It looks like in November and December, it was contemplated to have a work session on the first meeting date and a regular business meeting on the second meeting date for those 2 months in November and December. I would recommend that you address that schedule if you want to have both of those meetings. Or again, your charter amendment is only going to require 1 meeting a month. So while it can be on the books, if it's not necessary, then you can put out notice that it's
Yes, I would say that those need to be changed to council meetings, and we can then drop them if they're not needed with public notice. Any more conversation on that?
So that is affect the reason tonight. That can we still read through it tonight?
Yeah, because the schedule was not an actual part.
Okay.
It actually is a separate schedule that we're then adopting, so, when we get to that action item, what we'll do is we'll vote on the charter amendment, and then we'll go ahead and okay, so the next, item of business is review of the Cook Construction, annexation and zoning. And we'd like to ask if, Cook would go ahead and provide us more information on that, we have to ask some questions, and we can comment on it yourselves about what's going on. The public will have an opportunity to speak when we get to the council meeting when it comes time to have consideration. I would continue to remind folks that we're in a process. This is a longer process. This is not a vote that tonight approves anything except the first reading. If that was to occur, first reading just means that we move on, we have to advertise a public hearing, and then after the public hearing, we've got a second reading. So there are 3 actual steps to get us to a point where a decision has been made. Again, this has been a process. We're continuing to gather information. You gentlemen would please tell us more about the Cook development.
I've got deja vu. My name is Vince Fitzgerald. If y'all will recall, I'm an attorney with Cook Construction and Real Estate. We're located at 3120 Frontage Road in Gainesville, Georgia. I've given y'all slide packets again. Some of the slides are repetitive of the last presentation, but not all. So I wanted to start with the basics again, which on the first slide is the map. You'll see in red the property that's already in Baldwin, and in yellow the proposed annexation. Again, that's 21 acres already in Baldwin, 88 that we're proposing to annex for a total of 10938. This is a highway business zoning request. There are 101 permitted uses in the highway business zoning ordinance. Data center is not one of them, and housing and residential is not one of them. We're not asking you to zone so that we can have housing and a data center on this parcel. Okay, let's flip to the next slide. This should look familiar to you too. It's the concept plan. Once again, this is our concept, and it's 4 retail spaces, 3 restaurant spaces, 1 gas station, a senior living facility, an anchor grocery, a medical office, and then of course the stormwater facility. I think everyone's in agreement that the concept plan fits pretty well with the Baldwin comprehensive plan. So I won't read to you all of these excerpts like I did last time, but I just wanted to emphasize that the comprehensive plan essentially says we want commercial and retail growth, And this is where we want it, up this Highway 365 corridor. So flipping again, you'll see the map of the Highway 365 corridor. On the next slide, there's also another map of the corridor that's on page 32 of the comprehensive plan that shows the corridor traveling all north all the way to Level Grove Road from Duncan Bridge. Flipping again, as y'all know, we had a public participation meeting on January the 27th. I know I can speak for all of Cook and say that we enjoyed talking to everyone we met. There was 36 people that signed in. Of those 36, 16 lived within Baldwin, and we received a lot of positive impact or feedback, and some negative feedback. Regardless, we appreciated it all, and we enjoyed the evening.
Wait a minute, 16 out of 36 lived in Baldwin?
Of the 36 people that signed in, 16 were Baldwin residents. And that's not to say that all 36 opinions don't matter, because they do.
Interesting, thank you.
Right. Flipping to the next slide. While we do appreciate all of those opinions that we got that night, it's also important to remember the silent majority. And this is a response to a question that was in the public comment survey asking respondents to rank the following priorities for Baldwin.
What survey?
Comprehensive plan.
Comp plan?
Yeah, it's a survey monkey plan they sent when they were putting together the comprehensive plan. Ranked number 3 was attract more business like retail or dining and new job opportunities. And nearly 82% of the respondents either agreed or strongly agreed with that. Flipping again, this is also a familiar slide. We decided to leave it in here just to emphasize the retail gap you see at the bottom for this trade area, which includes a huge retail gap for gas stations, grocery stores, sporting goods stores, and family clothing stores. Flipping again, I know there's been some concern about whether this project is going to bring revenue to Baldwin that exceeds its expense. So we very conservatively did some back of the napkin math. And we're estimating that once fully stabilized, the project will be worth at least $22 million, $22.5 million, excuse me. It could be worth as much as $50 million. But at Baldwin's millage rate, that ends up to $192,000 in property taxes. It's also going to bring in sales and use tax. So if the project does $4 million in annual sales, it's going to bring in $4 million in annual sales to Haversham. The revenue to the city of Baldwin should be approximately $66,500 of that. And that's an estimate based on Baldwin receiving between 1.5 and 2% of Haversham County's total revenue. And then, of course, the project will bring in permit fees, utility tap, franchise fees, and business license. So we're estimating that Baldwin will benefit by $258,500 a year. And again, those are conservative estimates. Okay, the next slide regards another concern that we've heard about water and sewer. And I am not a water and sewer expert, so I'm gonna have to read this slide to you. Okay, we're working with the city engineer, and we've submitted anticipated flows for the project to him. His review is ongoing, but his initial indication is that Baldwin has the capacity to serve this project. At the water treatment plant, the permitted capacity is 4 million gallons per day for treatment and 3.0 for withdrawal. The average flow is 2.29 million gallons per day. At the wastewater treatment facility, the permitted capacity is 800,000 gallons per day, and the average flow is 400,000 gallons per day. Based on our estimates, the sewer capacity that this project would need is 0.08 million gallons per day, and the anticipated water demand is 0.09 million gallons per day. That's current capacity. Well, we also understand that the city is actively upgrading its water and sewer infrastructure with a comprehensive improvement plan in place. And this project will provide extra capital to help expedite the implementation of the city engineer's proposed improvement. Okay. We've also heard concerns about traffic. I want to emphasize that these are both Duncan Bridge and 365 are obviously state highways. The Georgia Department of Transportation is going to be in control. They're going to order a traffic study and we'll follow whatever recommendation that they provide. So these two maps are just concept maps. Likely is that there will be additional right turn lanes, obviously traveling south, and then along Duncan Bridge Road, and then extra turn lanes, extra left-hand turn lanes if you're traveling north. And then on the right-hand side, you can see that what the project would look like with an overpass, which is something that in 2009, the DOT indicated that it was on the radar, but not. Again, all of this is not happening tomorrow, so I've given you the projected project timeline. 2026 is rezoning and land planning. All of 2027 is engineering and permitting. 2028 is site development. And then 2029, the grocery anchor would open. 2030, the medical building. 2031, the assisted living and other out parcels. And then in 2032, the final out parcels would open. Okay. In conclusion, the project fits the city's plans for this character area. A majority of Baldwin citizens want to attract new business. They want to attract economic development and growth, and they want it to be on the State Route 365 corridor. The project's going to increase revenue to the city. It's going to bring jobs to the city, and ultimately, it is going to improve the city's infrastructure. A couple things that aren't on the slides that I wanted to address. I know there's been some concerns about a homeowner that we still don't have under contract. It's in the kind of middle to northerly, the middle to southerly part of the project. We're in active negotiations with her. We have offered to buy her acreage, build her the same house that our owners built for their mom, and provide relocation expenses. We're confident that we're going to reach a deal with her. She told one of our owners today that she wanted to see what you guys had decided before she makes a final decision. So we're confident we're going to be able to get that done. The other thing that we heard at the meeting is, hey, you guys aren't commercial builders. You're residential developers and residential builders. The bottom line is we won't be building any of these improvements. We're going to develop the property and turn the dirt. then we're going to sell that to Publix, or we're going to sell it to Quick Trip, or the other businesses. So we won't be building on the property. And, again, we're all here. Keith, is out of town, but we're all here again tonight, including our engineer. We're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions of the council?
Certainly, this is a question for Mr. Fitzgerald, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Or for you, Mayor, because I know that you all have had multiple meetings that I don't know the content of. One of the most.
That's what I said. You've gotten briefings on the meetings we've had with the shipment, so that's not accurate. I'm not gonna let that sit in the record.
This answer is not coming to me in the briefing. So the infrastructure that's gonna have to be placed between our system and this development, have y'all contemplated how that infrastructure would be funded and how it would be paid for in those meetings?
What was discussed was the possibility of a tax allocation district, which then assigns the taxes from the real estate taxes to pay for the development activity. This is one of the letters that was shared with members of the council from Cook. So this should not be a surprise. This is nothing new. There is no consideration that the city is paying for any of the infrastructure to bring sewer or water to them. What has been contemplated is Cook has said that they would be willing to prepay their expenses for sewer connection fees in order that the city has additional capital to work with as part of the development strategy. That's not been accepted, that's not been approved, that's not been authorized, but that's been their office so far.
And that's probably pretty good for the public to hear those two comments, because I've been asked those questions. So I appreciate you sharing those facts with the public.
Sure. Again, what we've said previously is this is a process. We're learning as we go. We're continuing to engage Cook. We're asking more questions. They are engaging with the city engineer and provide information there. More questions?
Again, I want to make sure everybody understands, right? You said you will not actually do the construction, right? So you guys will do the land work, the infrastructure, and then a big box or retailers most likely will come in with their construction crew, their development team, and they will develop either the strip mall, the shopping center, the out parcels, and all that kind of stuff under their own guidance and their own things, right? And a lot of these bigger groceries or, more prominent out parcels, we call it what it is, right? Chick-fil-A, Publix, they come in, they have their own building standards for the entire development that actually are riders on top of it, right? Chick-fil-A has their Chick-fil-A amendment. And if you build next to them or around them, they only allow certain things and all that, and certain finishes and types like that. So can you speak more to, just I want to make sure everyone understands that you guys are not actually most likely going to be doing any of the building unless it's maybe a small, they might contract with you all for a small mom and pop type place or something like that. But any retail chain, box store, anything like that's going to bring their own team.
Yeah. At the risk of repeating you, but any retail chain or box store is going to have their own builder that's going to build according to their own internal design. We're not building on the parcel at all.
I have a question. When you have down 3 restaurant spaces, and I'm wondering, is that fast food, or is for 10 years I've been hearing, I just want an Olive Garden and a Cracker Barrel.
And Texas Roadhouse.
And Texas Roadhouse. So are these restaurants those kind of restaurants, or are they Chick-fil-A's and McDonald's?
I don't think we have settled on that either. I think probably we're more likely to put the types of restaurants that you mentioned than a Burger King, Taco Bell, McDonald's. But that's not something that's been decided yet.
Okay. Fair enough.
The DOT will across the city.
We would have to pay for the improvements outside of the, on Duncan Bridge Road if they required a turn.
The city would not be required to pay for any.
No.
You said there's just state highways and DOT has to pay for that.
Correct.
I just wanted to clarify because there's been a lot of noise around how we're gonna have to pay for all that.
No,
DOT doesn't pay for the whole thing.
I'm sorry.
That's what I wanted to find out.
They don't.
I'm not aware of any city that has to pay for a state highway improvement project. If someone can show me where they have, I'll be happy to look at it and admit that I'm.
So, just to be clear, so anything that the state would not pay for, you guys would cover?
Correct. If it was touching our parcel. I showed you an overpass. If the DOT wants an overpass, and that would, I think, probably be everyone's dream project, then we're not gonna have to pay for the overpass in the new bridge. But if we have to put a turn lane in to turn right into the project by Duncan Bridge, then we're gonna have to pay for
We're
it.
gonna require you to do it.
Yes,
You're going to do and pay for it.
correct.
And that's fairly common, isn't it? Those deceleration, acceleration, accesses, that's pretty common in most developments on not only state highways, but city and even county
It
highways.
is. Well, I don't think we've had a project where we haven't had to pay for the decel lanes in the turn. Yeah.
Still waiting on that. We still need to pay for the improvements.
Yes.
Not gonna happen.
More questions?
Oh, I guess just one quick question, because you brought it up. The property that's in the centering of this,
Yes.
obviously, if y'all were to secure that property, would you anticipate rolling that back into this same proposal by the time we have our second reading?
Yeah. Well, we would have to reapply, it's my understanding. So we would have to treat that parcel as separate from all of these others. So we could all be here again a few more times.
With the drawing you have, the intent would be that would be proposed as highway business as well. You're not going to want to propose that as.
Yes, that would be highway business too, yes, sir.
One of the other questions, so this, you guys do not own the land, correct?
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So these,
All the parcels are under contract except for that middle
okay,
parcel.
they're all under
Yeah,
contract, right?
Yes, sir.
And each of the individual property owners have applied for this annexation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So part of our contract with them is they'll cooperate with us and sign any applications and things like that.
And have you guys done any land clearing today? Over there?
No, on that parcel, no.
Okay.
But we do know that some of the owners have.
Okay. And some of the adjacent owners, have they done any land clear?
Yes, but we're not, I mean, we can't control it.
Understood. But I just want to say there is some activity that's happened over there, but has not necessarily been y'all.
Yes, sir. I don't think that they're clearing it for our benefit. It doesn't give us any benefit. They're clearing it for their own revenue stream. Right.
Any more questions? City manager, anything from you? City council? Council? Let's confuse you today.
Council vote.
All right. Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Lock camera agreement. Police department.
David.
Good evening.
So, for those of y'all that were with us last year, we swapped the speed cameras from Blue Line Solutions to Ultimate. Part of the contract with Ultimate was that they would provide us 2 flock cameras at no cost to the city. We've placed them wherever we felt that we needed them most. So that agreement was signed by, obviously, everybody who was here on the previous council. And we swapped companies, I believe it was November of last year. Since then, we've been in touch with a couple local businesses, and the main one at this point is Still Sale. Still Sale has graciously offered to fund 3 more clock cameras for the city at no cost to the city through a. So there's really 2 ways you can do it. The business pays for it; they have complete access to it. Obviously, we can see the data if something were to happen. But then that leaves the business having access to every bit of information that's legally allowed for non-law enforcement to see. And then, of course, you get somebody in there that's not doing the right thing, and there's the potential for misuse. So Still Sale's like, no, we don't want to even chance that later on down the road or anything like that. We'll donate the money annually to the city, and the cameras can pretty much be property of the city. And, if something happens over here, we'll reach out to you and go that route. So that keeps all the access to all 5 cameras within the police department. That way, there's a lot of private businesses, Lowe's and some of the big box stores are really getting into the whole flock camera thing to help them catch all the shoplifters and that sort of thing. And they can't see quite the amount of information that we can. So it would restrict it if Still Sale ran their own. However, it just kind of cuts some of the potential for bad actors on down the road out of the equation if we have control of it. So, again, the agreement that you have in front of you is for 5 cameras, 2 of which are completely funded by Ultimate. Those have already been approved for acquisition from Ultimate through the original speed camera. This agreement is for installation and directly with flock. And then the other 3 will be funded annually, $3,000 per camera, so a total of $9,000 a year, annually by Still Sale directly to the city, and then the city pays the bill from there. If at any time we decide to back out of that agreement with Still Sale, or they say, hey, look, we don't want to give the donation to the city anymore, they can back out at any time, and Flock has agreed to allow us to be able to access the contract with those 3 cameras at any point. So the city can either say, hey, look, these have been really good for us, we want to take over the payment for 2 out of 3, all 3, or none at all, and just access the contract.
Can you remind us where the 2 cameras are that the city is purchasing or is getting, where they're going to be located?
Well, I can tell you proposed, anyway, at the moment. One would be Duncan Bridge coming off 365. The other would be coming northbound with 441 at the county line, coming into the county. The Bates County has one southbound already. That would place one coming into the city. And then the 3 that are proposed to Still Sale would be each end of industrial, one industrial park at Duncan Bridge, industrial at Airport, and then the other one would be at the main entrance to Still Sale, the main building.
And these are not the proposed cameras, these are not speed zone cameras, are they?
No, they're not.
They're just to maybe deter crime by identifying, and you can explain it to us?
Yeah, so flock cameras essentially are kind of like the license plate readers you have on a patrol car, except instead of actively riding around looking for no insurance, stolen vehicles, that sort of thing, they scan as you go by, and then if, say I'm looking for a red Corvette, and just, committed a bank robbery, that's the kind of vehicle that I'm looking for, I can go in there and actually type red Corvette, look at this specific camera for a specific time frame, and it's going to show me, hey, this is what you got. Or I can put in a tag number, and I can see where this vehicle was, as long as it obviously passed. The last time it passed the flock camera, then well, this is either our suspect or it's not, that sort of thing. And then again, you can see stolen vehicles and things of that nature, but obviously it's not attached to the back of the patrol car. You're not actively riding around looking for it. It's going to be a whole lot harder to, unless you're sitting there staring at your computer waiting for a stolen car to go by. It's going to be a little hard, but you can track it that way. And so, you still can recover stolen vehicles. It's just a little harder. It's just a great tool for us to be able to look and say, well, this is our suspect vehicle. This is what we're looking for, or this is the type of car we're looking for, and it can narrow it down for you to, again, it's a red convertible. That's all you got. That's all you know. You can't tell in a video that it's a Corvette or Camaro, or it's just convertible. That's all we know, and it's red. You put that in the search, it pops up with anything that came through at that time frame that's a red convertible. And then it's just a tool to help us identify the perpetrator. And they, trying to think the best way to put it here. They, well, go back to last winter.
Policies.
Last winter, yeah, I believe it was. Olsey's towing in town here had 3 records stolen. Overnight, guy pulled up, right down the street. They ran down the street, each one of the 3 guys jumped into a record and drove them off to Atlanta. They were McDonald?
McDonald.
Yeah. So the only way we found those is spot cameras. I mean, they led us to a much smaller radius, and we knew at least where we were searching for them. And so we recovered all 3 of them.
$250,000 worth of records that was recovered from those cameras.
Do they also aid in Amber Alerts?
You could,
yes.
You could see, I mean, they will give you hits for stuff like that, but again, you have to be actively sitting there watching the live feed. And that's going to be kind of hard because it's not intended to be a drive around and, the ones on the trunk of a patrol car, they're attached to a computer in your car actively telling you, hey, there's a Amber Alert hit on this car, this one's stolen, no insurance, whatever. It's not really designed to be that way. Could you use it that way? Yeah, but it would be extremely difficult to consistently do that unless you were working in certain detail, looking for a certain suspect or something. I know a lot of folks say, oh, well, they're, Big Brother's tracking me and all that sort of stuff. Nobody's looking at you. If you pass by that flock camera, nobody's going to have a clue unless you give them a reason to go looking for your tag number, your car. I mean, let's be honest. We don't care if you pass by that camera unless you've done something wrong. So unless you give me a reason to search for your vehicle, I have no idea that you passed that camera, nor do I care. I think that's pretty much the highlights of it, right?
Can you tell me about what Steel Cell was going to be able to get into that information from you? You're managing the camera. They're funding the cost of the camera. And what would be their ability to request information? What are they going to have access to?
If they come to us and say, hey, we had a kind of an internal incident, we could give them certain vehicle descriptors and that sort of thing. Obviously, if it's something that happened on the highway that has nothing to do with the business, we're not really going to release that to them unless they ask for maybe an incident report that's already public record. If it's something that occurred on their property and they're asking for assistance with an incident that occurred on their property, because again, that one will be actually facing toward their property. We can release, we see it's a red Ford Ranger or something that's involved in this, and I'd have to look and see exactly what is releasable and what's not. Obviously, the registered owner of the vehicle, we can release that. But as far as stuff that happens on the highway, we're not releasing that to them. Stuff that happens on their property, there's a very limited amount of information that we could release to them. The rest of it would be used for law enforcement purposes, or not at all.
So with the block systems, right, you guys, a couple questions. Will we be sharing all agencies in the state, or are we going to work on it? I mean, right now, blocks ties into a GCIC, right? So would you guys be able to you'd be willing to share yours with the rest of the state, or?
Because there's roughly 96,000 flock cameras in use. So once,
But you have to share those, right? So we have to make sure, like, if we have them installed in Baldwin, we have to allow permission to be shared, right? So we will be sharing those with all of the jurisdictions, right? Okay. Who's gonna be administrating or the admin of the system? Is it you or is it the?
both of us would be the only ones with admin access.
Okay. Because you mentioned that, you can't, it's not monitoring, right? You're not sitting in front of it all the time, but you can do combos, you can do, it is a force multiplier. You can put in things, so with the Amber Alert, you guys are tied in, you should be able to tie in with GCIC and the state, and when they issue it, automatically put on your combos items, right? So I would encourage y'all to look at making sure that we're working with Flock to integrate in all those different methods, right? We have, to be honest, right, my company, we just got done installing, I don't know, some 40-something of those cameras at every location. And they've been a huge benefit to the local law enforcement. The one thing that's concerning a little bit is what we give. We got to be very careful about what we give to steel cell, right? So as a private entity on block, you don't get owner registration information. You don't get any of that. All you can do is search vehicles and get tag numbers, but you can't get into any of that kind of data. So I would caution or make sure that we talk with council to really flesh out what we're allowed to share with them as a private entity.
Well, it's going to be just like anything else for open records. I mean, I guess private business versus a government entity, y'all don't have to, open records doesn't apply to a private company.
Yeah.
And it does to us. So certain things we have to give everything, we can black out everything but the year of birth, cold date birth, I think it's just a year, not the date of birth. And again, I got a list in my office that anytime I have a question, I can go by that because I can keep up with it. But so again, depending on the request, it's an open records request if we maintain it, and especially with Flock, because there's so many depending on the state and court you're in and that sort of thing. Some courts are saying, oh, you have to release everything on Flock, which is a disaster. But
yeah,
obviously that's not really the case here.
No, I think my concern more is that, if it is something with steel cell and that's a private entity, right? And we don't need to become their independent or their contracted resource for that, right? I mean, I don't think if they have an internal incident, whether it be personnel or something else, I take a little bit of caution in saying why would we now get involved with that? Now if there's a way that Flock can set up profiles for that one specific camera, where you all the admin for it, and then you can set up a profile on a public or a private access where they get the private information. Because even like I said, when I have them, I can see how many vehicles went through my parking lots with warrants or registration or expired registration or anything like that. It doesn't tell me who they are, what tag it was. It would just show me how many there are, right? So there's a way to set up profiling with Flock to maybe give Steel Cell their own access to just that one camera. I don't want us to.
We're not giving them access to any camera.
But I don't want us to be the resource for every time they have an internal issue. You see what I'm saying? I don't want us to be then use the police for an internal issue with something with that private company, right? If it's not a crime.
I don't think.
If it's a crime, yes. If there's a break-in, vehicles are being stolen, something like that. But if they have just a suspicious vehicle or something like that, I don't want it to be abused by them using us as a resource.
I don't perceive that.
But if it's an actual crime, there will be an incident report, if applicable, but an officer will be dispatched to Steel Cell.
Any particular reason they wanted 3 cameras? That's the one facing the building. I can understand. What were they looking for with the other 2 cameras, or were they?
The other 2 were for our benefit.
Mm-hmm.
They had nothing to do with them. honestly, they just,
being good partners.
It's a community partnership. They've been great, the city of Baldwin, for helping us.
that is a major cut through for not just industrial park traffic, but I mean, you sit out there in the middle of the day, and it's just steady traffic. It's not 85 or 85, but I mean, it's, for us, it's outside of 365 and 441 is a rather heavily traveled road, especially in the middle of the day. So there's a lot of stuff that runs back and forth through there, between industrial and industrial park. And so the one camera will, at airport and industrial, will obviously face toward Still Sail, catch vehicles going that direction, and then the one industrial park and Dr. Bridge will be facing toward Still Sail from that direction. So either way they go, so it helps them out. It gives them, hey, if something major were to happen, it's caught somebody going in or out towards Still Sail, but at the same time it helps us out in the grand scheme of things. So those two are not really for their benefit; they're for ours.
Have you reviewed the contract with Paul?
Yes, sir. So on the issue of public records requests and the applicability of that to these images or whatever the data is that is captured, there is a specific statute that exempts captured license plate data collected by a law enforcement agency from disclosure under the Act. So that a request for all images on this date, I think it depends on what information is captured by the camera, but clearly the license plate data is exempt, but it is exempt from public disclosure under the Open Records Act. And so a question will be, what is the scope of that phrase, license plate data, and it is everything that we have on the flock cameras license plate data, or is it license plate data and other stuff? In which case, the other stuff doesn't have this specific exemption from open records. The fear would be that people would be making open records requests trying to use that information for their personal purposes, whatever they may be, and abusing the system and the open records process in that process. We would, of course, take the position that it is all exempt, I believe. But that is an open question that I cannot give you a chapter and verse legal answer on.
One question I have, and it sort of relates to this. Where's the actual data stored, and what is the time in which they hold it in that location?
So the data stored within like a cloud storage that's facilitated by Flock themselves. Intention, I have to find out. I don't know.
I believe it's deleted after 30 days.
Okay. Yeah. So an open records after 31 days would become irrelevant because of the time.
So the record would exist.
Okay. I know it was 5 years, way back when this first started, and then it was some big ordeal, and then I know they shortened it way up, and I don't really tell you 100% without asking exactly remember.
Nonetheless, we don't have to hold a server in your room.
Yeah.
And it costs us a bunch of money and maintain it for eternity. And the 15,000 I'm looking at this annual here, that's the totality of all 5 cameras, and this covers their level of maintenance and upkeep and making sure the camera is reporting to the system. We don't have any hidden cost.
Correct. So each camera is $3,000 per year annual, and then the first year is $3,000 setup per camera. So Flock has agreed to, for these 5, waive that $3,000 setup fee per camera. So that $15,000 is good. That's no big deal. Ultimate, we tend to build the ultimate for the $6,000 for the 2, and they pay Flock directly. As far as the 9, again, I'll just get the MOU worked out. The 3 will be paid by the city once Steel Cell pays the city for the cameras themselves.
Are they paying up front, or are they paying at the end of the year? When are they paying? So
They should pay up front. We're working on the MOUs. Once we get this done, I think I'll just try to help you out and finish that up. Yes, but I guess we'll be back with that at the end of the month to go over the MOUs with Steel Cell before we sign for it.
Who else in our general area is using this particular type of system?
Banks County Sheriff's Office, Lowe's, Habersham County, Hall County, Gainesville,
Banks County.
So Lowe's is the only private company that we're looking at? United?
Our cameras, in our patrol cars, our Axon, was integrated with Flock, but I think Axon and Flock had fallen out, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. The 2 were integrated together. I'm not sure they fixed that. Still.
And the retention period is 30 days. Unless you put in a request, they can save certain data per law enforcement request.
Can y'all download it at any time, hold it for yourself, like for a particular ongoing concern?
You can go in and, as far as I know, you can flag it for investigative purposes.
We can download a PDF at that time, so it's each Flock get. You know, if you're looking for a certain person that you know is traveling from Baldwin to Atlanta on a certain day during a certain time, you can search that and then you can pull up a list with pictures and everything and locations where it hit off the cameras and follow it all the way down through there on that day.
Well, I don't think there's any question that these are everywhere. They're out of 365 right now, and they're at almost every intersection. You get Georgia 511 right now, and you can see almost everyone, these cameras. So the technology is upon us. And the fact that we don't have to pay for it is only a benefit.
We do have, we're looking at 2 other spots we really want to put on that in somewhat trouble areas for us. We've talked to some other businesses that are in conjunction with each other are willing to do it. Not one by themselves, but 3 or 4 together are willing to pay for 1 camera per year. So that may be on in the future. We haven't quite got that one ironed out yet.
I guess there's one other question. I guess the roads you talked about, those are all city roads, right?
Well, state routes as well. That is the other.
Well, there'll be permitting issues. Who's going to be involved with that? Flock will take care of it.
Yeah, so we got Duncan Bridge, right there at Sunrise.
The Sunrise, Oaks,
What is it?
Sunrise Ridge.
There you go. And then 441 Stone Pile, that one obviously has to get state approval, and that's gonna take a few months, but that's, Flock takes care of all that. I mean, they got guys that all they do, and then the rest of them for industrial, and then industrial park.
data is transmitted cellular, so there's no wires, whatever. No questions? We do have an announcement. City offices are closed on February 16th in observance of President's Day. We're going to adjourn for 9 minutes. We're going to open the meeting back up at 7:30 for the city council meeting. If you would like to speak, there is a sign-up sheet. There'll be a time to speak. There'll be a 3-minute limit. If you have previously signed up, there's an individual who did sign up. We'll have 5 minutes to speak, they'll speak first. Our city manager, Karen Morrison, has the sign-up sheet, and we'll make sure it's available back there for you to sign up. We'll see you all back at
ahead and start the city council meeting. We'll start with an invocation. I'm going to stand and speak for a moment, and I'm going to ask you to join me. Okay, just stay seated a moment. I have some things to say. America was founded on freedom of religion, and it's very important that we respect that founding. I offered up a moment of silence last time. I apologize it was short because I was very nervous. It was my first time doing that. I am going to do that again, offer up a moment of silence, and allow folks to pray in the way they want to pray, to be in whatever meditation, or to think of folks that need our assistance and our prayers. My grandfather was a minister. He asked that I respect other religions and respect other folks' approaches to religion. He was only a minister for 75 plus years. I admired my grandfather very, very much. I do think it's the right thing to do. And so I'm going to ask if you'll join me and stand for a moment of silence.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do not have a consent agenda. A consent agenda is where we've already considered items and decided that we would go ahead and vote on them in this meeting, so that we will actually individually consider each item. Now is the time for public comments. We have a sign-in sheet that will call your name when you are called. If you please identify yourself, tell us what your address is. The public participation policy of the city council is that individuals can express for 3 minutes their concerns about items on the agenda. There's no personal attacks. We're going to ask if the audience would please be respectful of each individual who's speaking. We want to hear what folks have to say. We don't want to engage in conversation. We want to be in a position where we're hearing and making sure we can then record what each individual needs or wants or what their thoughts are. If there are action items within that particular list of concerns, then the city manager or other individuals will look into that particular item and get back to the individual and let them know what the thoughts were. So it's like, hey, I want to complain about my stop sign is being down. Well, we can look into that and get back to you. That's not something we can solve tonight. So first individual to speak, Chief, if you would talk for a moment about what our policies are and what the requirements are about how folks address the public.
So, good evening. I'm Chief Jones. So, me and the mayor's talked about this. If we would please refrain from any profane language. There is people in the room under 14 years of age. Also, any disruptive or argumentative or aggressive behavior. And that could be taken if you stand up and approach someone. It all depends on how they interpret that action. So, please, I'm glad everybody's here for their First Amendment right. I'm all for the freedom of speech, but let's keep it simple. Thank you.
Mayor, if you don't mind, can we amend this agenda slightly to compensate for the discussion we had regarding to the charter amendment, so that we can add in an opportunity to vote or consider the council meeting schedule that we discussed? My proposal would be to amend the agenda to where number 3 now becomes consider and approval of the council calendar, and then the next 2 items advanced by 1 number.
Is that the will? Thank you.
Sorry about that. I did not mean to step in front of that public comments.
Okay. All right. Our first speaker will be Brandon Smith.
Good evening, actually, Brandon, my client over there, Brandon and his partner Henry, and Henry and I are going to speak on Brandon's and Henry's behalf instead. But first of all, new faces since the last time I was here. I grew up in a family with an elected official, so I'm not sure whether congratulations or I'm sorry is appropriate, but thank you guys for serving your community. We would like to talk briefly about the building permit fee schedule and how those are calculated. We feel that there's nobody's fault here in the room. It's just something that happened, but we think that it's something that we'd like to ask the council to consider modifying. So real briefly, I prepared for you guys. Sorry that the rest of you don't have access to this, but and you guys do have this handout, right? Okay, good. So if you look briefly at the bottom, our fees for building permits are calculated using 3 variables: the area of the building, the cost of construction by square foot, and then a multiplier. And the multiplier is published there at the top of the page in that rectangle. Then if you look with me on the next page, so this chart represents the chart by the International Code Council that the Baldwin Council, not any of you individually, but the body of the council in the past, has instructed Bureau Veritas, your contract reviewer, to use to calculate values. The building that we're currently here to talk about tonight is 468 or 86 Industrial Park Drive. 468. Industrial Park Drive, where Machining Properties is going to be building a building for a business that Henry and Brandon own themselves, but also 2 other tenants. And so the highlighted areas in yellow represent the 2 business types that will be there. And the International Code Council, as you can see, I've highlighted in yellow for the type of construction that it is, 2B. Those numbers represent what the International Code Council represents as building construction costs per square foot. Using that formula, Bureau Veritas values the building that they're going to be building at $2.778 million. And by the way, they haven't authorized me to do this, but I'd offer if the Baldwin would like to buy that building for a 20% discount tonight. It's for sale. It's not really for sale, but they would sell it for that. On the next page, this is a Q Public report from the sale of a building directly adjacent to this property, and a sale within the last year or so. So, do any of you guys know Wade Rhodes? You guys on the council? Anybody think that Wade Rhodes is in the business of losing money or leaving money on the table? No. So this building sold for, as you can see there, where I've highlighted in yellow with the arrows, sold for $930,000. The county, Habersham County, values it at $941. So pretty comparable. I would say that represents fair market value for the building that's adjacent to this one. That includes the land price, the land value, and profit to the seller. Above that, highlighted in green, the building valuation itself, which is really how building permit fees are calculated. That building valuation itself of $757,000 for 9,500 square feet. The math right there beside it, done for you. The county would value that building at $80 a square foot, or 79 point something. So what we're asking is really that the council consider that the permit fees as currently directed to Bureau Veritas, which is, has nothing to do except following your directive, that those be reviewed. We're not asking for anything to be done about this tonight, but we'd be glad to serve on a panel to advise the clerk, to advise you guys, hey, maybe here's a better way. And then Henry's going to discuss a little bit about how, we think that this might affect investment in Baldwin and the chance for businesses to relocate to Baldwin. and choose Baldwin over Cornelia or over the county. So, thank you for your time.
Is that a hard stop, or do I got 15 seconds?
15 seconds.
Okay, fair.
Talk quick.
Well, I'm from here, and so is Brandon. We've built businesses here. We like working here. Want to stay here. We're investing here. Looking to bring more work and commerce to the area. And we just want to continue investing, but we just want to make it fair. And so trying to get ahead of that.
Thank you. As you observed, we did not vote on these particular ones. We'll have conversations with the city manager.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone.
Oh, real quickly, you addressed negative comments, and this is my chance to endorse a project or not, but I've heard a lot of the comments about Jeff Cook personally, and I would like to let you guys all know that Jeff is a good man. You may disagree with his project, but Jeff is a good man. So please keep that in mind as you're discussing what I know you all likely disagree with, but Jeff's a good man.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Mr. Fitzgerald, would you like to speak?
I don't have anything additional at this time, but I would like to reserve the right to speak after the public comment period.
To address specific questions or what?
Sure, or what I had
I'm not
in
sure I
mind.
can provide to you that reservation, but we will consider it as the discussion
Okay,
goes.
thank you.
Thank you. Alice Venter?
Alice Venter, 580 Baldwin Falls Road, here to talk to you about the Cook annexation and rezoning. There are some concerns, obviously, that you all are probably sure that you've seen already. One of the big ones is the comment about the DOT. So once all that property's been flipped and all of those jobs have been created and the traffic flows in, and then the DOT comes in, that is going to be when the DOT says, okay, we got to make some modifications to the road infrastructure, more than just the D-cell and XL lane or whatever they are. And that is when the DOT is going to come and say, we're not going to pay for all this, and you are on the hook for it. Even 10 years down the road, that infrastructure is going to be even more expensive. So I just want you to take that into consideration. And yes, with the sewer capacity, there is. However, for 8 years, twice a year, I sat in front with our engineering firm and had them explain to us that the inflow and infiltration of the sewer infrastructure, the pipes that go in, they get kinked because the earth is always moving. And so even though that capacity is there, when there are high rain events, that's always a problem. And you wouldn't know that if you hadn't been sitting there and listening to it for as long as I have. So I want you to take that into consideration. That's a tremendous amount of money to repair. And if the developers, any of them, because we're talking about A&R homes as well, are willing to pay for that, I think that's a fantastic opportunity. I just don't know that they're willing to or have the financial capability to do that. So as far as the comprehensive plan is concerned, that there's a tremendous amount of land that has already been annexed and zoned, with the understanding that that developer can come back and rezone, hence the discussion that you were having about the 79 home part of it. The agreement at that point, because after he bought the first part of the development, he went and bought more and was good enough to come back to the city and say, hey, let's make this a little more cohesive and plan it out as one big thing. So that's why it's coming back to you piecemeal. Don't forget that there's a lot of opportunity that already fits the comprehensive plan. Also, someone asked me to point out light pollution, and those particular jobs are the minimum wage jobs. Also the retirement home, the senior living is residential in itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Donna Brooks, please.
Donna Brooks. I'm at 236 Chandler Drive in Alto, but I do pay Baldwin taxes. I just first want to thank you for your service to our community, and I want to thank you and Cook Construction for taking the time to listen to our concerns. I really appreciate that. I must have missed being able to participate in the comp plan that Mr. Fitzgerald mentioned earlier, so I wanted to take some time to personally respond with my perspective as a lifelong resident of Habersham County. Habersham County is special. Habersham County is unique, and so any development plan has to be equally unique. I believe that our challenge is how to maximize opportunities for our citizens and fund crucial services, but without losing our unique rural and agricultural identity. I want to have access to health care, job opportunities, but not at the expense of becoming a clone to suburban Atlanta. I think maybe that's why 365 is so dangerous. I've noticed that many of the crashes, the fatal crashes involved in 365 have involved individuals that are not from this area. They may come up 985 going 80 miles an hour and not realize that they're going to come up upon a red light pretty soon. Or that they're going to have to yield to traffic from my parents' driveway to their farm, which is directly off of that state route. Because we're not an extension of Beaufort. We're not an extension of Gainesville. We're unique in that way. I like that you can travel 5 miles and it takes you about 5 minutes. If we add a lot of Cracker Barrels and Olive Gardens, I'm afraid that's going to change. I like that I know that some of the families that provide our eggs and poultry, when I go to visit my friends in Atlanta and I get closer to home, I can literally feel my blood pressure drop. When I start to see, green trees again and open pastures. And I don't want to lose that because Habersham is unique and that uniqueness is worth protecting. So when we talk about developing the 365 corridor, we need to remember the farms that already occupy this space. Let's not run them out at the expense of growth that will eventually turn us into the same type of place many people moved here to escape. So I'm asking this body genuinely to protect what makes our community special. And let's brainstorm other ways to fund these important services without sacrificing what we love about Habersham County. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you again for listening to us. We've lived in Habersham County our entire lives. Our daddy's an ag teacher, and he escaped Woodstock and came here. And Woodstock was called Woodstick when he was growing up. And my fear is that Woodstock is going to be what Habersham's going to become. I hate going there. It's not something that I want to see our community become. And unfortunately, yes, this may be happening in Baldwin, but it's happening to Habersham because everyone in Habersham drives 365. My parents' driveway is right off 365. I live off of Baldwin or Duncan Bridge and BC Grant Road with my sister, and we travel that road every day. I taught my niece, oldest niece, how to drive on that highway, and it is one of the most dangerous highways in Georgia. You heard Mr. Fitzgerald say 2009, this highway has been on the DOT's radar since then. It's 2025. It could be a decade or more before they even get this thing started. How many more wrecks are there going to be? I sit in my parents' living room some nights visiting with them, and I hear the crashes. And many of them are fatalities. And I don't want it to be my niece or my upcoming niece or nephew because that road is dangerous. People fly through that red light when it is red like there is nobody there.
they're not paying attention, and if you add more congestion to that area, it is going to compound that. Like Donna said, we don't want this to be just like any other town. We don't want it to be a suburb of Atlanta. We enjoy, I mean, this is why a lot of people come here, because it is unique and because it is special. This is our getaway. This is where we escape. This is what we've worked hard for, and we don't want to lose it. I'm willing to drive 20 miles to Gainesville to see the doctor's office, you know, and to go to a restaurant, because I don't want it in my backyard. I'm willing to drive the 20 minutes because I don't want it to be in my everyday life. The horrible, horrible, horrible traffic and the wrecks. When I was coming home from the doctor's office just a week ago, it was like a parking lot on the way home from Gainesville. And they're building more and more things on 365. I'm not a fan of the 365 corridor. I'm not a real big fan of the Baldwin Comprehensive Plan. Things don't need to be built on 365 when you have driveways off 365. If there was a different kind of plan for that, I might could see it. You know, and we don't have no disrespect men, but we don't have a bevy of lawyers to stand up for us. We have each other that, you know, we stand up for, and we have you. And we're respectfully asking that you stand up for Baldwin. Thank you.
Owenby. Y'all have to forgive me, I am not good at this. My name is Kel Owenby, and I reside at 578 Cherry Circle. That'd be the little road that's right up Ducky Bridge, the first paved road when you go through the red light. For the past year, my life has been turned upside down when it comes to where I live. First, they clear cut the property at the corridor. Then the lady behind us with the 40 acres decided to clear cut hers. I can see from my back porch that white house that's on the corner right here at the corridor, which means all the noise, all the disruption. This going through, I'm going to hear it all the way to 2032. My kids are going to hear it. Now, I know you don't hear it very much, but I paid my house off and my little acre at 31 years old. How many people want to know young'uns that are doing that these days? It's impossible, because I bought a fixer-upper. I didn't expect somebody to come through and build me some cookie-cutter neighborhood or some townhouse. I went out and bought a fixer-upper. I fixed the floors in it. We lived in the living room till the bedrooms were done. And piece by piece by piece, I have built a life here. I have offered to buy acreage from some of these folks. They would never sell, because most of us locals cannot afford to pay what these guys right here are willing to pay per acre. Most of us don't even know it's for sale. You know why? Because it's not for sale until somebody comes in and offers you 2 times what it's worth. Money talks, BS walks. I heard that from somebody the other night. And it's a true term. Most folks don't want to sell their land. But you offer them something like that, they can't resist. I don't mind what people do with their private property. I'm a red-blooded American. I'm conservative when it comes to that. I might be liberal with a lot of other values, but with that, I stand firm. Private property rights are a big deal. What I don't like is when folks like this come through and offer 3 times what it costs to buy the property, bulldoze it down, and put up more grocery stores, more houses, more townhouses. Where am I going to move to? How far do I got to go back in the woods to be able to get away from this? Like she said, 365 is a death trap. Literally 2 days ago, trying to do my job, trying to go through a green light, almost got T-boned at 80 miles an hour by some rando, decided to run a red light. What are we going to do with twice that traffic? What are we going to do? Twice the people coming out of that area. That grocery store, y'all seen Walmart. You want Walmart's traffic right there with 70, 65 mile an hour speed limits? What are you going to do? Slow it down to 45? Have fun with that. It won't work. I grew up in White County. Grew up on a 100-year-old farm. They practically eminent domained us to give up for that bypass that they so desperately needed. Try to go across the square of Cleveland. Has it got any better, y'all? Anybody? It's just as bad. It'll take you 20 minutes to get from the Tractor Supply to the other side of Cleveland if you take the square. But I'll end it with this. I appreciate y'all's time, but y'all need to understand that we have y'all's back as long as you have ours. And the minute we think you don't, that is when the water gets real hot, because that's what we like to jump for, is to have our backs. If I wanted to live in Gainesville, I'd move to Gainesville. If I wanted to live in the middle of a concrete jungle, I'd move to one. I didn't work that hard just to have it all changed around me. Nothing I can do about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kenzie Kane.
My name is Mackenzie Kane. I live at 211 Wild Creek Drive in Denver, Georgia. So yes, I'm not a Baldwin native, but I am a Habersham dweller, and I'm also a native from White County. So me being here is me trying to get ahead of the game for what could possibly come onto my neighborhood later, and also to be here for y'all. One thing I want to touch on with the flock cameras, I'm not pro, against, whatever. I would just make sure y'all find out more of the Fourth Amendment right and how y'all are going to approach that in future cases for that, because there are some lawsuits about it. Some states say yay, some have denied it, but just kind of check out Fourth Amendment rights and keeping that storage over 30 days. The second thing I want to talk about, I don't own property. I don't have a skin in a game, but I can speak on ethics, and that's what I think is very important, because I think if something's going to be decided on, it should have been done ethically, right, transparent. So like business ethics, that's your moral principles, right, fair, just, integrity. Back in 2021, I believe, Habersham County BOC updated their mission statement to where they, staff recommendation stated that Habersham County our mission is to preserve, protect, and enhance the natural beauty and cultural heritage of our community in order to provide a quality of life that ensures Habersham County is a great place to live, work, and raise a family now and for future generations. So I just, want to repeat that. I love where we are. I love this area. I'm on Habersham Rotary. Again, I'm not native here, but I do put a lot of time and effort into here. I also go to Piedmont University, and with the 365 corridor, there's a ton of college-age kids that do not know how to drive. I love them, but I do give tours at the school, and I talk to their parents. I'm the one that these people see that I'm watching your kids. I'm giving you that. So it makes me feel better knowing that they're coming somewhere, that's also a safe place to be, a safe corridor, because driving is hard around here. And also, again, with the ethics, think of the businesses that they are bringing in. Are their ethics, are their morals, are their values going to line up with our communities? And that's, because I believe, and I'm not sure if I heard it correctly, but they're not sure who would inhabit these grocery stores and shops and houses. But, we have to really see how further in depth, like, if it had been, my personal opinion, if it had been done transparently, correctly, I feel like a little bit better, people might be more inviting, but I hope y'all really think about it, because I love Habersham and I love White County. This is my home. I've lived here since '94, so I'll do anything to protect that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jonathan Mark.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Jonathan Mark, 418 Grand Avenue, Cornelia. While there's lots we'd like to speak about, I only have 3 minutes. Did I bring my paper up? Motion number 3, or old business number 3, which I think the number's changed now, is the consideration approval for the first reading of Cook Construction Annexation Ordinance. And I believe that was discussed 2 weeks ago. There was a motion made and it died. And then it was recommended that that be tabled. But upon doing some work, and I'm certainly not a lawyer for multiple reasons, but I'm looking at the Robert's Rules of Order, and it says a motion cannot be tabled. You can only table a motion if it is currently being discussed and has already been seconded. Since an unseconded motion never reaches the discussion phase, it cannot be tabled. There's a question about that. Can it be tabled? This says no. It's just.
I was educated the other day that
We don't
we don't
absolutely-
operate by Robert's
Yeah, we
rules.
don't actually
And we're
follow
not
Robert's
required to by law.
So you can.
I didn't know that either.
Let's let our council answer this particular question.
Robert's Rules of Order does not govern the rules of procedure in this body.
So it's just.
It's not applicable in this body. Robert's Rules of
Okay.
Order.
What rules do you go by?
The council's rules. Each body can choose its rules of procedure. That is part of the city council's charter that provides for that.
They can do what they want, basically. They make their own rules. So what it boils down to, in layman's terms.
Address your comments to us, that would be great.
So they can do what they want. They make up their own rules, is what the council said. So, Zach, would you like me to address directly to you? Because they can't hear. Back there, they're asking. You know,
We actually do have a guiding document that being created during the time I was on council. Admittedly, I don't have that document in front of me, but we do have a guided document that we use for our meetings.
I'm
Thank
sure
you
there's
for bringing
something.
that up because I just learned that myself. So.
No, it's great. It's, you know, I thought it was a valid point.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah. So.
I didn't realize
Man.
either. So. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charles Franklin?
Frank Gum.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I wear glasses for a reason, but I missed it.
Unusual name.
Charles Franklin. The Franklin family has been represented in Habersham County for probably 150, close to 200 years. Those of y'all who may have lived here for a long time knew my grandfather and my uncle and stuff over in Clarksville. I reside at 201 Laurel Oak Drive. Our biggest concern is we drive 365. We drive Duncan Bridge. Anytime I go through that intersection, I stop. I look. Light's green. I sit there and I look at traffic. Are they stopping? If not, I'm not going to pull out. I shouldn't have to. You know, that intersection's dangerous. It's going to get worse. Our property values at Laurel Oak subdivision, we fear that property value is going to plummet because of the construction. And I'm all for growing, but this area needs to stay where it's at. This is the beauty of Habersham County. It's the mountains. It's the foothills of the mountains. We don't want to be Atlanta. We've lived there. We don't want to be Gainesville, Macon, or anywhere. Otherwise, we'd be there. We want this area, and we want it to stay. There's enough stores for everybody. I used to drive 25 or 29 minutes to work every day. I can get to Gainesville quicker. So it's no big deal to drive to Gainesville to go to a doctor's appointment or whatever. So, you know, we're just concerned the safety, the crime, because the more people, the more crime. Cops can only do so much. And, you know, unless you're willing to hire 4 times as many of them, now true, we're in Camellia, but we have to go through Baldwin to do anything. I haven't looked at a map to see how it all wraps around each other, but you gotta go through Baldwin to go anywhere. So, like I say, I'm not against building and growing to a point. And I think this area's grown enough. Let's love it the way it is.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I believe it says Beverly Holcomb. I hope I got that right.
I don't have any papers tonight, so this is totally from my heart.
I was very upset at the last meeting we had, not at Cook. I was disappointed that a moment of silence. I didn't say who I was and where I was from. I'm sorry. Beverly Holcomb, 600 Baldwin Falls Road. Excuse me. And I appreciate all that y'all do. I've sat there for 11 years. I know exactly how it feels. Don't always feel good, but I don't know. It was sad for me. I almost cried going home thinking that in the 49 years that I've lived in Baldwin, that there was no prayer there tonight. There was a moment of silence. And perhaps that's okay with a lot of people, but prayer is I don't know how I would describe prayer other than it's a very precious time that I have with my quiet moments. And I think it should be a precious time in our leadership in the city of Baldwin. And I would ask you if you would reconsider that. Maybe you won't, maybe you will. If I don't ask, I won't never know. So I want you to know that I pray for you all, and you may not want me to, but I will be praying for you because I love our town, and that's one thing that I can do for our town. I may be old, I'll soon be 80 years old, but I still can think a little bit, and I know some things that are very important and dear to my heart, and prayer is one of them. And thank you all for listening to all of us tonight. We don't all have the same message, but whatever happens, I will take it. I will love everybody, and I will try to get along. It's not my purpose in life to argue and bicker and all those things, because we're not supposed to be like that. We're supposed to love one another. So I thank you for listening to me, and God bless you.
Rebecca Williams.
I'm Rebecca Williams. I'm at 206 Hazel Creek. I wanted to talk to y'all about the construction development project tonight. Like many other people, I feel like this is in our neighbor's backyards. I don't feel like that this is an appropriate place. This is an agricultural and a residential place. I feel very sad for the people that have had to undergo a lot of harassment from them. We've met a lot of them at the Cornelia meeting for the 4 hours we listened to everybody talk. And the one particular woman on the 1 acre tract, she's been there for 4 generations, and they're trying to do everything to get her off of there. And she asked just to please be left alone. I don't know her. I'm just saying what I heard her say at the meeting, and she just asked to be left alone and just let her live her life out. People don't deserve to be harassed like that just because they deserve to stay at their own home, and it is a property right. Just like the gentleman that spent all this time building his own house, and he deserves to get to live there in peace, just like it was when they bought it. I feel like it's our civic duty to protect the quality of life of our residential areas where these people live, to prevent incompatible land uses from joining one another. The only component in this proposed development that I do feel would be appropriate is the assisted living, because it is a residential. It wouldn't interfere with anybody's daily life. It wouldn't have a lot of traffic concerns. I don't feel like it would have a lot of light pollution. They wouldn't have floodlights everywhere all night long like a retail strip mall would. They're quiet. I believe that they wouldn't have all the 18-wheelers coming in and out like the retail strip malls would. It'd be safer for people to drive around. The remainder of the proposal I feel like is absolutely not compatible with the current and surrounding land uses. I just want to say I had read this and I thought it was Baldwin, and I'm from Georgia. I'm not from here. I'm from an area where I've watched this happen too. And I actually left the state because it was just too much. And I've come home and it's still going on. But I'm here, and I've learned that I think we should all stand up for what we believe in, and that's why I'm here. I'm going to start trying to be more involved. But I have a little piece from an article from celebrating Baldwin's 129th anniversary, honoring more than a century rooted in railroads, agriculture, small town community life that began in 1896. Baldwin has been weathering changes while maintaining strong ties to its past of agricultural, manufacturing, and small businesses. Baldwin's enduring appeal comes from its authenticity and sense of community. Baldwin has never tried to be something it's not, even through adversity and criticism. Baldwin has stood by its principles. I call upon the Baldwin City Council members to continue standing by those principles and maintain the utmost dignity, fortitude, and respect for your own homes, your own way of life, and the wishes and respects of your neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Ashley Long.
I don't want you to skip my name because I signed up before she did.
Sydney Blackburn.
Yes.
I missed you. I apologize.
I'll go after her.
Okay.
Ashley Long, 292 BC Grant Road, Alto, Georgia. Don't live in the city limits of Baldwin, but I drive through them every day. My grandparents have been lifelong residents of Baldwin, and I have to carry my son through those roads every day. I'm also not a great public speaker, so bear with me. I just have some points to make in rebuttal to Cook Construction and what they're proposing. Again, like the man said, I don't believe they're bad people, but I don't think this is what's best for our community. So just to make a point, is there a difference in the infrastructure in laying the infrastructure of residential property versus a larger commercial property? We all know that there is a difference. So saying that you aren't going to be the ones building is one thing, but you are the ones laying the infrastructure, and that's different, and you haven't done it before. So just, you don't have experience in that. That doesn't mean that we have to say yes just because they're the ones that have come here to apply for this zoning annexation. Second, I am concerned, like many of the members here have previously said, about the people around this area, and like they brought up the parcel that has not agreed to their contract yet. She's being offered money to move out. Does she want to? We don't know. That's up to her. But we're pushing people out of the area. That's concerning to me. And just a final ask. I have lived here my entire life. My family's had generations of farms here. I know this development isn't immediate, but this opens the door to more development in the future, and generations of my family and other families here will not have the chance to preserve what we have worked so hard for. So I'd ask us to slow down, to listen to the people who have lived here, and remember that bigger is not always better. Sometimes preserving what we have here is the most responsible thing that we can do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sydney Blackburn. I live at 1140 BC Grant Road, and I'm here to tell you why we don't want this. So our community has been clear that this level of growth is neither wanted nor needed. This project would contribute directly to urban sprawl, which research shows leads to increased traffic congestion, higher infrastructure and maintenance costs, environmental degradation, and a reduced quality of life for residents. Urban sprawl also erodes the identity of small towns by replacing local stores, business owners that live here and have their local shops here, with developments that don't reflect those values. Once this type of growth begins, it is extremely difficult to reverse. You cannot reverse it. It will not go away. Our town has intentionally remained small, and that is exactly what residents want to preserve. Approving this development would permanently change our community in a way residents have clearly opposed. Another thing, we own a farm. We live on farmland. My father, my mother, I live with them still. I'm in the process of moving out, getting married this year. But we own land on one side of 365 and on the other side of 365 back behind Dairy Queen. We have to take care of our cows. We have cattle. We have to drive our equipment across the highway. We have to. That's the only way to take care of our cows over there. Adding this in, adding that congestion in, makes that so much harder for us. Makes us not be able to take care of the animals and the land we have. Pushes us out of taking care of what's ours for commercial things that aren't ours, that we don't want and don't need. Listen to the people and preserve what is Habersham. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greta Waters. Rita?
My name is Freda Waters. I reside at 165 Laurel Oak Drive, right off Duncan Ridge Road. I was born and bred and raised in Habersham County. I am proud to be from Habersham County. I was educated in the Habersham County School System College. I met my husband, moved off to be with him. We moved back some 30 years ago. I own land over in the Glade Creek section, 2.5 acres. We did not build over there. I still pay taxes on that, which doubled this year. Why do I own it? They're not making any more land, people. They're not. We moved on Duncan Bridge. There was a caution light. It was a death trap. Then it became a red light. Then they put in one way across Duncan Bridge from Baldwin to Helen and from Duncan Bridge to Baldwin. I have had the turning error to turn left, and somebody come across from Baldwin. They had the red light. 18-wheelers, I've seen 18-wheelers run through that red light. They can't stop on a dime. I have had the green light and turned left, and my husband, I saw a car coming around the curve there in Baldwin. And I was going to get in the left-hand lane, and I wait till traffic stops before I go anywhere. So traffic had stopped. I turned left. My husband said, "Left lane, Fred, left lane." And I was getting in the left lane anyway. She flew by me. You know, today I traveled to Gainesville for my cancer treatments, for my chemo. The new red light at Kubota Way, there was a car T-boned right there. No big complex, just Kubota Way. They're building that racetrack or whatever there. And it was T-boned. Let's don't be in a hurry, people. You know, let's give this some thought, some time. You know, GDOT failed Habersham County when they didn't build bridges across these intersections. I've had friends that have lost loved ones. I've lost loved ones. So let's settle down and let Habersham County be Habersham County. Okay? We don't have to be Gainesville. Okay? Yeah, with growth, okay, it comes growth, there comes crime, too. Our schools are already overcrowded, so there we are. Let's think about it, okay? I beg you, I plead with you, okay? I love Habersham County. I love the people up here. So we're united. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Donna Shirley.
Well, I'm Donna Shirley, and as so many of these people, I'm a lifelong resident of Habersham County. And I'm an elderly lady, and as they pointed out, I could use their assisted living facility one day, but I'm not ready yet.
Shirley, what's your address?
126 Silverwood Drive, Cordelia, Georgia. And I've heard their presentations, I've been to their meetings, I've seen their pretty little plans, but I don't believe Publix or Kroger will even consider coming up here. when I've done some research, the target for Publix customers is a median income of $85,000. Kroger is $80,000. Well, the median income of Habersham County is between $65,000 and $71,000. So are they coming? Who are you talking to? Assisted living. Who have you talked to that might consider coming here? How do you know an assisted living community would even be interested in coming to this development? And the traffic there, all these people keep talking about traffic, it's horrendous. And you can't sit on this council and not realize the traffic problem that's there. And we have people moving into Habersham County for years and years and years to get away from this growth that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And every time I drive to Gainesville, there's another hill that's been flattened, and it's big red mud and traffic and transfer trucks, and here this, what is that thing? It's going to yeah, the inland portal. That's going to even add more to this problem. And change is inevitable. I've seen it all my life. I grew up in downtown Cornelia. We'd go to the colonial store to buy our groceries and cross the street to Clay Strange's coffee shop to have a hot dog. It's not that way anymore. The bank failed and there's a big fancy restaurant there. Change is inevitable, but you've got to manage it. And yet that is your responsibility in this decision of this development, to make sure that you make a sound decision, because whatever you decide, if you decide to accept this, you can't change it. And we don't want to be changed. We love our community. We love driving into Habersham County and seeing trees on the side of the road and not just plowed down, every blade of grass, every tree gone. And I know they said they didn't do that, but it's been done, and it's going to take a long time for the trees to grow back. And if they do this development, what about green space? We need trees. We need to preserve how our community looks when people come fly. Well, they may not look. They're going 100 miles an hour, so they might not see nothing but blur. But we want to be sure that our community is preserved, and that what people are moving away from, that we're not going to turn into that. And I appreciate your time, and I just hope that you will use wise decisions in making what you do with this development. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Fitzgerald, did you have any remarks or not?
No, sir.
All right, that's the end of our public comments. We don't have any reports this evening from any of our department heads. We will move into old business. First item of consideration is the approval of the Chitwood preliminary plat for 79 homes, which is pods D and F of their master plan. We had discussion. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Second. Any additional questions or discussions on that particular item?
I believe I shared my concerns in the work session on that.
Okay. So, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Motion carries. Consideration, our next agenda item is consideration and reading of the charter amendment ordinance. This is absent any dates of the meetings. This is a charter amendment that assists us with being able to set meetings without having to do a charter amendment every time we're trying to do a meeting going forward. Hopefully that will benefit this council and council for many years into the future. Do we have a motion on ordinance number 2026-01182?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councilman Dean. Second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions on that matter?
Would you mind just reading the bold part of the ordinance before we take a vote?
Not on that.
Oh, I'll be happy to read it in your stead if you're okay with
That would be great.
So it's an ordinance number 2026-01182. It's an ordinance to amend the city charter of the city of Baldwin, Georgia, to establish that the city council shall have the discretion to set its meeting schedule with at least one meeting per month to repeal conflicting provisions of the charter and for other purposes.
Any additional discussion on this matter? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Consideration and approval of the first reading of the Cook Construction Annexation Ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry, you were at the council. My note was small. We do have an item 3. The agenda has been adjusted at the request of council. This is to establish the schedule for the year. We've already discussed that the meetings would be a combined meeting, would be twice per month, and the dates were established in the earlier discussion. Any questions or concerns about the dates established? We did modify that document to include that the 2 meetings, one in November, one in December, would be council meetings and not work sessions. Any additional discussion or questions on that? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That motion carries. Okay, the consideration and approval of first reading of Cook Construction Annexation Ordinance 2026-01183A. This first reading is a authorization to continue the process of reviewing the annexation. It is not an approval of the annexation. As I said earlier, there is still a requirement for a public hearing, and there is a need for a second reading of this before the council. Those are the steps that we have to go through. What a first reading does is put this item on the agenda, moving forward for continuing study.
And most importantly, give the public an opportunity for a meeting.
Correct. We have not had a public hearing. We have accepted public comments. A public hearing would be in a larger forum. We're trying to locate a larger forum where that can be. I don't have specific information on that at this time, so I can't announce where that is. There is a requirement for a 15-day publication of that notice in advance. So do we have a motion to move forward with the first reading of the Cook Construction Annexation Ordinance? So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any continuing discussion on this matter?
Baldwin residents, please show up to this public.
You already made up your mind. All in favor of this first reading of the Cook Construction Annexation, please say aye.
Aye.
So we have 3 ayes.
I'm gonna be a nay as soon as you.
Any opposed? So motion carries. There would be a continuation of the annexation process. The next item is agenda item 5 now, which is the consideration and approval of first reading of Cook Construction Zoning Ordinance 2026-01184Z. Do we have a motion on that?
This is for the
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on this matter? All in favor?
Aye.
So 3 ayes. Any opposed?
Nay.
And a nay. Motion carries. So we will announce the public hearing. We will encourage folks to participate in that. There'll be information given. For example, I got an email this morning with great questions. Those are the kind of things that we need to bring out in those meetings, and we would love to have any questions that you have in advance so we can make sure that they're presented as part of the discussion. New business, consideration and approval of the police department's block camera agreement. We discussed that in our meeting. I think we concurred on that. Is there any additional questions on that? Someone make a motion.
The assistant chief mentioned that he's got some more documents he would like to bring forward to us regarding this, such as the MOU and such.
As far as the MOU will still sell, hopefully 17.
So we would move this forward before the MOU.
So the MOU, the two that are already in there have already been approved by the previous council.
So are you suggesting that we're only going to vote on 2 cameras tonight? Is that what you're saying?
You just initially, I mean,
Mr. Mayor, the contract before you is for the 5 cameras. And the question, I mean, it depends upon how the motion is made, but I would assume that the motion is going to be to authorize the execution of the agreement. And if that is the case, it is the 5. The MOU, the further document, only deals with Steel Cell's contribution to pay for the 3. And so it would certainly be appropriate, it would not be inappropriate for you to proceed with the contract approval tonight. That is the council's will, understanding that the MOU is still yet to come with Steel Cell to pay for 3 of those.
So would the appropriate motion be that we would be approving the block camera agreement subject to the negotiation of an acceptable MOU in order to fund the final 3 cameras? Otherwise, the only cameras involved would be the 2 cameras that are being authorized by the city.
That is an appropriate motion.
Would someone like to make that motion?
Could we also just offer to move this on into our next council meeting, and at that time we'll do what the MOU would be on that?
What's the time on the MOU?
Can we move this out, or does it need to be approved now?
it goes to the end of December to get it signed, for the setup fees to be waived.
End of December.
There's a delay there. It goes to the end of January, there's a delay there.
So we need to get this. This was right before the previous council, I believe, and so Fox been generous enough to extend the free, or the. So we need to waive the installation.
Can you guys move the MOU quickly?
Yes, sir. It will be before you at your next meeting.
It's February 17th.
He's working on that for us.
But I'm saying, could we by that time? If not, I'm going to say no, because I'm not going to budget for any more expenditure. The MOU allows me to not budget for expenditures. I mean, it doesn't matter. There may be 3 other council members that are fine with spending the money without the absolutes, but I'm going to want the absolute.
Well, now, there is also a clause in there that if Steel Cell does not pay, we are not responsible, and then we can back out.
That is a new.
I would suggest that we can wait until the 17th.
If we could wait till the 17th, I think it gives me the most amount of comfort. But again, I'm one of tonight 4, but normally one of 5, so a pretty small consideration there.
Yeah, if they gave us till the end of, do we have till the end of February?
So this was supposed to have been done by December 31st. So Ultimate had graciously waived the setup fee on these cameras. It didn't get presented as needed. So now we have already begged forgiveness one time, so they've given us an extension twice on this. So I don't know if they're waiving the fee again.
Once again, it was outside of our control.
It's $3,000 per camera, so at a minimum, it's $6,000 for the 2, $15,000 for the whole batch to be installed.
$3,000 per camera for the setup fee at one time, so for each camera we're looking at, so it's 15 plus another 15, or at least 6 and 6 at the minimum.
What's your recommendation?
So my recommendation, we don't have the MOU, so we've already got the two that was approved prior council. So we've got that. So if we do approve the MOU, if it did not go through, we can scratch those 3 cameras at any time. We don't have to pay that. It's stated in that MOU. So if something didn't work out, we're not tied to the money, as Councilman Egan was saying, where we have in the budget another 9, or possibly if it went to 6, that's $18,000 a year. We can scratch those, and City of Baldwin Police Department's not responsible for those cameras. So it would go back to the
What
two
is the
original.
contract? I guess I get that's the practical side, but what is the contract that we're approving say, Counselor? If we're looking at this, are we obligating to 5, or do we have some proviso that says 5, subject to 3 being funded by steel? If we could insert a clause like that, that would be fine.
Well, that is the purpose of the MOU, I believe.
Yeah, but that's not what,
That is
not what the
correct.
contract with Flux says. That's what I'm worried about.
That is correct. That is correct. You would need the MOU in order to avail yourself of the right to cancel if Steel Cell doesn't pay, right? I mean, that's because that necessitates Steel Cell's obligation to pay, which is going to be the MOU.
Would you read the contract that if Steel Cell did not pay at the time, let's say, for example, we approved the 5 now, would you read the contract to be that in the 2 weeks, if you're not successful, that you would then be able to tell Flock, we're just buying 2? We're just...
That's a business deal question that I don't know the answer to. I mean, I don't believe that is addressed in the contract.
It's supposed to be.
Well,
There's supposed to be language in there that says if they don't, if for some reason Steel Cell backs out, doesn't sign the MOU, that we're not responsible.
this contract addresses Steel Cell's contribution?
What's that?
You just said if Steel
He
Cell
said it was
does,
language that he added in there that, or well, the legal thing with law added to it, that if we, if the MOU does not work out, we get the 5. If the MOU didn't work out, for whatever reason, before or after they were, right after they were installed, that we could back out and put it across the city. That was.
For that language, and I'm not coming up on it, but.
And this is the issue with having work sessions right before a council meeting, is you don't have enough time to do subdivision meetings.
Yeah.
I keep saying that over and over again.
And now I'm into definitions, so I don't think it's gonna be in the definitions.
yeah.
I mean, you're trying to look at a legal contract, which is hard enough as a good thing, you can't see it right before you're supposed to say on it.
The paragraph where that would have been added is section 11.7 special terms, and it is not contained in there. I've got no doubt that that was the representation, and that is the agreement. However, it is not in the document. My best advice is to make a motion to table the matter under your rules to be presented at the next meeting, February 17th, along with the MOU for Steel Cell.
I think that's about right.
So, do we have a motion to table this item until the next meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? So, council then will have both pieces, or
They will both be out.
or we'll just have 2 cameras in the contract.
Yes.
Sorry for the delay, gentlemen, but, we just have to have this available to us.
I
I'm
fully
sure
understand.
of someone in law, you understand how this stuff can get.
It was out of my hands getting this presented.
Totally get that. And hopefully Flock will, send them a link to this meeting and just minute in this meeting, and they can understand the details. Thank you.
It has nothing to do with that. We just can't be obligated to something to Steel Cell. We don't have an agreement. We have no executive session. Same announcement, city offices are closed on February 16th in observance of President's Day. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned.